Hello everyone, today I have great pleasure to speak with Jasmeen Hana. She's based in Egypt and she's a personal empowerment and soul initiation. Hi Jasmeen, it's a great pleasure to have you in our group.
Thank you, Edward, and everyone who's watching. It's good to be here.
Can you share a little bit more about your story, how you became, who are you today?
Okay, so I am half Egyptian, and I grew up for a part of my life in Europe, but I grew up also in Egypt from my teen years and my early 20s, and I already felt as a woman, as a girl, but also as a being, there was a lot inside of me that I wanted to express and have space to express. But due to the situation of just my family, culture, and so on, I had to keep a lid on it, so to say. And only, when there's a lot of fire, a lot of creativity, a lot of energy, a lot of passion and life moving through with this lid, eventually something explodes. So when that explosion happened, I pretty much left this land and went on a journey that lasted over 10 years, traveling around the world, finding the ways, the pathways to come back to living basically as a full human being, as a fully integrated human being, being allowed to have the space to express fully, to know how to express, to feel on purpose. So the journey led me pretty much back to myself. It didn't lead me outside, it just brought me back in. And so now my path is really to support others to go back, to come home to themselves, regardless of what's happened in life, regardless of which country, which culture, which religion, which tradition. In the end, we're all souls and we all want the basic things. We want to feel like we're loved, we're seen, we're allowed to be who we are, and we want to be able to express that to the world in a way that feels honoring and true to ourselves. Just the basic kind of human right or ability to be a soul in the world. So I support beings on journeys, either on the land, in Egypt, and all over the world, or online, to come back to that place of establishing that very vulnerable but very delicate part of saying, this is me. I can feel myself here. I can feel myself here. And from that, be able to create in the outer world, from that place, which is really honest, true, delicate, vulnerable, and real. So it's very simple and yet very complicated and very beautiful work, yes. And I use the temples of Egypt as a map on how in the past they supported souls to come back home to who they truly are. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jasmeen, for sharing your journey. And I would like you to explain a little bit more about the part when you say it's something which is very simple, but at the same time is super complicated. So for the people who maybe are not familiar, what is simple and what is complicated, and how you can put that in the one sentence and it's at the same time not sound controversial?
It's a really good question. It's so simple because we already are that which we want to be. We already are it. It's simple, it's like, but the complicated thing is we have so many protections, so many masks, so many mechanisms in order to protect our delicate, vulnerable soul from the rest of the outside world. So these mechanisms are extremely complicated, sophisticated. And yet what's simple is when we have moments where we feel we can just drop that and be who we are and shine that through, then it's very simple. So it's easy to say just be, but it's complicated to really just be. But that is the beautiful path, is like be, and also it might take a bit of inner work in a way. It's a commitment, there's a process to that.
Why is that the case? Why is that something which is super powerful and is always with us? We don't pay enough attention to that only when we really struggle or when something big happen. But originally we spend so much time on things which we think are super important, but when you compare with this, is maybe not super important.
For everyone it will be different. I think in a way, as humans, we don't want to be bored and we don't want things to be that easy. It's almost like we create these human stories, these archetypal stories to make life more exciting, maybe. It's almost like we want that drama to feel alive. but can we just feel alive? It's a choice. And I feel the day comes sometimes, it's like, okay, enough now. I'm going to choose this way. But often we are exhilarated by the ride itself. There is a certain thrill to the ride. And eventually something has to happen, a crisis, a crash and burn, something happens, and then it brings us back to our senses. So
I like the point that you mentioned, that we don't want to feel bored, and that drama is it's a journey, which I think it's a very philosophical question and point, but it makes sense for me. How about next generation? So we are living in a crazy world, let's say, put on this way. This world which we are right now, it's different than the world we can imagine when we were kids, and now we have to communicate something with the future generation. So what will be your message, because you are in this space and you understand from different levels of spirituality, also awareness. So what will be the message for the people who are just confused and they don't know which path they have to take in order to be happy, just to be happy, just like simple happy with who they are? Because there are so many limitations today. You cannot travel, you have to do this, you have to do that, like, and we just see it's accelerating of number of restrictions compared, like when I remember my childhood, I was like almost able to do whatever I want, like, and now like there are rules from day one, and the inflation of rules is just outstanding. So how to still, what will be that message for the people who are confused? I know some people are working on their inner themselves, and they don't feel that frustration, but many people feel. So what will be your message for them?
Yes, for me, from my own experience and from what I'm seeing more and more, to bring it back to simplicity, just say it as it is. There's such a sense sometimes I feel of covering up that which we already know and what we feel with other words that are not true. The most powerful advice I would say is say it as it is and stand with it. Stand with your truth and don't let anyone else bully you or push you because of their own fear into compromising that which you truly are. And I feel like if it came back to my story when I was a teenager, it's only when I stood up and said, no, I don't want to do that, or I don't believe in that. It took incredible amount of courage and guts. And I even needed to leave for a while just to be able to stand in that, because I wasn't accepted at all. But the side effect of not saying it as it is that you'll live a life where you're feeling dead and numb and closed and blocked, and in a way, in that self-hatred of not being and sharing that which is true to yourself. And that goes to everything. In your relationships, even with the people you love around you, not to be rude and mean, but to say it as you feel it and to dare to express the truth that lives inside the core of your heart and being. That there's no other way for me other than that.
In order to help your clients, like how they can work with you, is that one-on-one, or is that group work? Is that online, or you still have some opportunity to have live events? So share a little bit more about how people can work with you and what kind of program you provide for them. Is that like 1 week, 1 month, 1 year? Share a little bit more about your system as well.
Sure. So I work one-on-one with clients online. I work with groups. It's called spiritual sexual shamanism. It's real deep activation work, life force activation. I work with the Egyptian mysteries and initiation work, and this I offer 6-week programs online, ongoing. I offer priestess initiations online, ongoing. I do Nile journeys in Egypt. We just finished one, and they're ongoing, which is more shamanic soul pilgrimage to the land itself through the temples. So there's quite a few things that I offer, but those are the main things. So you can find me online, one-on-one, group sessions, live sessions. I work as a facilitator with International School of Temple Arts, ISTA, and we offer level 1, 2, and 3 trainings. Really deep work, beautiful work, bringing people back to life, So yeah, I think the biggest pandemic is we forgot that we're alive. And so one of the things I'm passionate about is whatever way you can bring yourself back to life, just come back to life.
or how that works? Are people who are not based in Egypt, they can also be part of your masterclass 6 weeks program, or how that
Sure.
works?
Yes, so I work predominantly in English. I
Mhm.
I am between Europe and Egypt at the moment. Before it was
Mhm.
the rest of the world, but that's changed. So now it's Europe. So I do my classes all in English, actually. If someone wanted to do a one-on-one session with me in Arabic or German, I also speak fluent Arabic and German, so I can offer it in 3 languages. But my groups are all in English.
6 weeks program, how often you have the launch, or is that something which is ongoing all the time, or is that just during the 6 weeks and then they have to wait next opportunity?
Yeah. So we finished. I offer it maybe 3 times a year. Uh,
Mhm.
so we finished two. So there'll be one more, and so it's a matter of staying connected to me online or just checking my website. And as soon as it's launched, people will know. Yeah.
Okay. And who are the typical clients, or who are the typical people who you attract to your program?
Yeah, so it's a people beings from all over the world. I have to say, like in your in your work, it's people from all countries. It's the same, from the age of 18 to the age of 80. I've had so
Mm.
I think it's anyone who wants to work on a soul level, not on a level which says you cannot be on a deeper soul level. So it's for everyone. But I have to
Mhm.
say, I get a lot of women who join my
Mhm.
work
Mhm.
and women who are interested in Egypt, the shamanic path, the Kemetic path, or just the more priestess path. Of
Mhm.
course, there's a tendency to draw those beings in, or beings who are attracted to African or let's say Egyptian kind of mysticism. But I like to take out the word mystery and we bring it to the truth, to the body. You know, nothing.
Mhm.
I like it real.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
we work like that. Yeah. So it's a very wide selection of beings.
And for the people who are maybe not very familiar, can you share a little bit more about that specific Egyptian methodology? So, what is something which might be interesting for people to understand why this can help them?
Sure. Yeah, so it's I call the program Returning Home, and I work
Mhm.
with the Egyptian Tree of Life, and
Mhm.
it's about coming home. So often we find gateways, doorways in our life. We open doors of our memories. We have imagination. We have creativity. Sometimes it's a time to die. Sometimes it's a time to be born. Sometimes it's a time to plant seeds. Sometimes we need to go into the underworld and face our deepest fears. Like we cannot not escape those. So basically, I work with a map that will support us as souls, and we're on this body, but we're souls, to go through these doorways and gateways. And different times in our life, we'll need different keys to different doors. So I work on that deep psychic, like really deeper water level of our being, especially for those who are ready to transform. I find it very deep transformative work because it's a very shamanic container. I
Mhm.
especially want to emphasize on the underworld work, which is going in and confronting the things that we don't usually confront. And there's no way out. We need to confront that which we cannot see, but that we know and feel, but we're denying and hiding. So those doors suddenly open, and only transformation can happen through that, and a lot more creativity and joy ultimately. Because we're not needing to escape or hide or run anymore, ultimately from ourselves. Yeah.
And my last question is, I'm curious also about the you before this interview we had some small chat and you mentioned that something is going very positive in Egypt right now, because Egypt is somehow is not in the media. I very rare case I hear some news from Cairo, from if you can share maybe what do you feel, how this all changing impact your country, and what do you see as a future of your country and maybe region?
Yes, it's a beautiful question. It's a delicate question. I feel that right now there's a remembrance of what Egypt was and what it stood for in the world in terms of its true power. Egypt is a place of the true power, and something in that is being respected and revived here in this land. So I feel over time there will be an understanding and more of an integration of what ancient Egypt was and what it stood for and how it worked in the world. It was based on laws of Ma'at, which are based on laws of harmony and truth and justice, but in the most humane, beautiful way. It's respecting nature and respecting ourselves as nature. So we can only treat each other in the most natural way, being as natural as possible, which means being as loving as possible and as real as possible. So these laws are coming back. They're remembered, they're revived. Recently, there was a beautiful parade and they were opening the mummies from one museum to the next, but they sang an old hymn, an old song of Isis, the goddess, to the whole nation. So it's respecting that again, the feminine, the importance of that, and the integration and the balance between the masculine and feminine, so that we can really birth a new civilization. And I feel what I'm seeing here, this is a cradle for the birth of a new civilization. And may beings keep remembering and coming back home to their true nature. It's the only way that we all keep doing that individually and together. Yeah, I want to also emphasize on the youth, the young people and their amazing imaginations and heart. And there's something, of course, when we encourage the youth to bring their power. Egypt does that too with the youth. They want the youth to, so anyway.
Super excited. It sounds like the beginning of the new cycle. And yes, so we need that true power, as you mentioned, definitely not fake power. Great point for the end of this interview. Thank you so much for being with us, and looking forward to see many happy people after the sessions with you. And share a little bit more whenever you have a time, news from Egypt, from your work. And happy to have you in our group. Thank you one more time.
Thank you, and thank you everyone who's here, and it's good to be part of this group. Thank you.